Uh, okay, Calliope. So nice to have you with me today. So you're a life coach. You have your own business. You've been running this with groups, one-on-one, and you're going towards a membership.
Yes, that's correct.
You want to tell me more about the membership area?
Um, sure. I I'm finding that I want to reach more people and also make it more affordable for people to have access to what I want to share. So basically, the whole point of the way I got to this point is changing careers one after another is so that I can help people. I really just have this compulsion to share what I've learned through my experiences and suffering and solutions that or ways that I found my way through difficult times that I wish I had known in the past. And I want to share that, but to as many people as possible. That's the whole point. And in the process of that, make a living. But right now, when I do one-on-one or groups, it is a steeper price. And I find it's limiting who I can reach. And there's so many people that I know that I'm like, oh, these are the ones that need it. How can I make this happen? And so sort of a membership platform where I don't know what the cost, I haven't gone that far yet. I'm just putting content together and things like this. That way people would come, it would be a safe space, and they would have access to me. I would be live at times throughout the month and connect with people in groups, but they would also have access to different course trainings that I'll put up, that I'll record me teaching, all these different topics that I have knowledge on that seem to fall under no one category, but see, if I create the membership, I could just do whatever I want. Every group possible. We can talk about depression, we can talk about fitness, we can talk about yoga, we can talk about chronic illness, we can talk about, what's the best recipe, healthy recipe. So bring all my stuff to one place, and that's what I'm picturing.
And what lights you up the most about your business right now, as in you're in this transition?
As I'm in this transition, I think when I see other people's aha, like a light bulb go off, where they'll be like, yes, that exactly, what you just said, that's exactly what I'm going through, or you get it, or, able to pinpoint it. And in terms of the transition, what lights me up is I know I've seen the impact it can have on smaller groups. And when I think about being able to, I almost picture like a little spider web, right? Where I'm sitting at the center and all the different threads going out are the different threads of my life, things that I have learned and bring. And then people can come to this thing and gathering, and we all sit together. And they can sit on different threads, like meaning if this part's not interesting to you or not relevant, you can go to this. You have access to all of it. And a spider constantly remakes the web. So constantly upkeeping it and making it fresh and repairing and adding. So I love that concept. And it also helps me from a health standpoint, because I suffer from lupus and my energy is very limited, small pockets. This is something that I feel would leverage my energy in the best possible way.
It feels like it gives you space for creation and flexibility all in the same package.
Yes. Yes.
How cool.
I think so.
I love it. And I have a question. I was looking into your website and what came through to me is how, like, you talk about a lot about the guilt that we impose on ourselves. It seems to be one of your main themes. Can you say more about that?
Can I ever?
Please share.
I've always said that I've lived with the big G, guilt, because it's driven a lot of my actions. And I was trapped in this. I wanted to be a good person. I still want to be a good person. I hope that I am a good person. But how do you manage, or where's the healthy boundary of how much you give of yourself and how much you say no or create healthy boundaries? When you want to be a good person, it seems like you're unclear. You feel guilty when you do say no. So how on earth do you decipher that? That's sort of been definitely part of my life path. And I so wish I had some info years ago to help me clarify. So now if I can help even one person with guilt, it's life-changing. Like guilt erodes you, really does. So I'm not sure if I answered your question.
I really liked your image too about like being a blood donor for a certain quantity versus giving a blood transfusion every time someone asks you something. I felt that it was it's a powerful image for,
do you know how
healthy boundaries.
Yeah. You know how I came to that?
Say more.
I felt like I needed a blood transfusion. I just now, since my lupus, that's been the main feeling, the main symptom, where you feel so drained, but literally where I'm like, okay, I must not have any red blood cells in there. I don't know what's going on, but give me some. I need a transfusion. And then as I went through and I connected things, I'm like, well, let's look at the last 40 years, Calliope. That's what you've been doing. Like I have a big heart, and I'd be like, yeah, don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. Here are my veins. Tap in. I don't need blood. What do you mean? I don't know. I'll figure it out later. I'll just help you, because I was able to. And I didn't know where the limit was until my body said, no more. I teach you a different way, Calliope. That's the Greek part of talking.
Yeah, and from your life story, it seems that you had transfused quite a few people in your life with your life energy and your time and all
and there are difficult situations, when you're in it. How do you, my mother was dying of breast cancer at the age of 59, and I have one of two sisters that's severely mentally ill. And then at the same time, the youngest sister, so there's three of us, was getting married, and I was the maid of honor. And so to imagine all three of these things coinciding at the same time. And I had opened a yoga studio and was trying to run that with two other partners. And it was too much. And how do you say, I wouldn't go back and change anything about helping my mom, but it was also seeing that certain nobody else was stepping up to the challenge in the family. So what do? You're like, this is where I felt guilt, and I didn't know where's the healthy boundary. And it is, I'm not saying it's not an easy, there's no easy answer, but there is, there's definitely a limit. You only have so much to give. And that's where it got confusing, because I felt like I could keep giving at that time.
So if you had a chance to talk to this younger Calliope now, with all you know, what would you tell her?
I would tell her, well, let's see. So summing it up is what you're saying? That's a bit tricky. Let me think.
I don't know, try, I'm sure some of your clients come up with some similar situations if they're just a bit like who you were then.
I have the answer. It's reciprocity. So you need to look at the different places in your life where you're expending energy. And this includes physical energy, exercise, and emotional energy, and mental, like working, at an office, this all sort of relationships. But where's the energy going, and what are you getting back for it? Are you getting the equal energetic currency? Now, there are times in our lives where that's not going to be, you can't expect reciprocity. My mother dying, for example. But these situations are fewer in life, in a lifetime, and those are the exceptions. This is why you've been storing your energy and managing it well so that you can handle those. But if this becomes a way of life where you're constantly not refilling your own well of energy, you need to restore it, and you need to take time. If you're always kind of like, it's okay, I'm going towards empty, I still have a bit, and you're filling everyone else's, then you will break down. You will break down. I guarantee it. I don't know how. Everybody does it, with enough time, the body, whether it's mental health, physical health, you'd just be fatigued and migraines, whatever it is, at some point you're going to wear yourself into the ground. So reciprocity is where I would start.
I love that.
Thank you. It only took 40 years to figure that one, by the way. 4 decades. But it's true, meaning when you hear it clearly and you sort of see it out of the context of a relationship, when you see it as, it's like, oh, okay. But it's hard when it becomes your family. It's like, what if you're giving and the other person isn't? How do you deal with that? Well, that's a whole other ball game. That's, that's where, but this is where you start. You just need to be clear, like, what is okay and what isn't okay. That's where it's, I needed to start, and I didn't know what is okay, what isn't okay. I would feel unclear. And again, this is what I believe I help people clarify.
Yeah, it seems there would be a lot of sifting through education, beliefs.
Yes.
Habits.
Yes. Yes.
So who are your clients most of the time? Who do you feel are the, I'll say best clients? I don't like that term, but
yeah. I know what you mean. Sort of the ideal audience, so to speak, that needs to hear this. It is the Wonder Woman, the woman, which is, I would say, most women, and I don't mean that that's my ideal audience. I just mean I come across so many incredible women and men too, but human beings that really can do it all, and they do it all. So I'm not talking just they're really intelligent, they're really smart, they're very caring, they're very responsible, they're funny, they know they have tact and social skills and communication skills, and they've achieved many things. It's sort of like if you were to write a list of qualities these people have on paper, you'd be like, oh my God, this is a perfect human. I didn't know they exist, this perfect human. This is the person that could do anything in their life. And yet these women can't see themselves, and they are Wonder Women. They're always achieving the impossible. They're coming through for everyone. They really do save the day for most people. They're the ones that are so reliable, because they're like, okay, nobody else like me, right? Nobody else picking up the pieces. I'll step in. I don't know how to figure this out. I'll figure it out. I'll find the resources. I'll ask, because no one else wants to do it, type of thing. That woman is not able to give the same level of care to herself. Nowhere near. She's always putting herself aside. And I think that's easy. I think if you're a mom, that is natural and part of it, for a good chunk of years for your kids. But I think that element, I don't have kids, and I did the exact same thing. So it's the nurturer in us, and we care about people. If we have that extra bit, we do want to give it. We just don't see that it can get out of hand and how it might impact us and those people that we want to help in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's the people-pleasing woman. I don't, people-pleasing might sound not negative, but a people pleaser cares more about the other person's feelings than their own, if that makes sense.
And what lights you up about these clients?
I see the light that these women are, just like I said, perfect humans. I'm not joking when I say, when you look at the world and all that's going on in it, a lot of it is distressing. Mm-hmm. And I see these women and the abilities they have and the potential they have. If they only would direct their energy towards themselves, we could change the world. Their lives would be awesome. And by being themselves and putting energy into themselves, they would be transforming the world. And that's what lights me up. And I see it so clearly. And I just want to be that mirror. And when I am, I guess that's where the light bulb, and I see a few light bulbs go on. I'm like, yes, my pain is worth it. I think it's because I'm an empath, though, seriously, right? Because I can feel what you feel. So if you're hurting, I hurt. But if you're succeeding, I also feel the success. I feel the joy. I'm able to live in your shoes. So it can be a good and a bad thing. But I mean, in this case, I think it's why I feel it does really light me up. So.
That's fun. And how did you manage to redirect your attention on yourself? What are the ways that you've managed to do that?
Well, it didn't come by choice initially. My body shut down, with the lupus. It just got worse and worse and worse, to the point where I could definitely not give of myself to anyone else, but I could barely care for myself. So I was forced to use any little energy strength I had to just literally, basic self-care and survive. So I was forced to not give, and I was not happy about that. It was foreign to me, right? It was like, whoa. And also, but it wasn't that now I was able to just care for myself. I couldn't even care for myself. So the situation was, and it still is very difficult, I'll be honest, but it was very distressing. So now I've gone from having so much energy to not having any. And so I can't manage. And over time, because that got worse and worse and worse, and I had to hit a breaking point to see that it basically is this, that I didn't value myself. I didn't feel that my life was truly equally worthy as other people's. I knew in my mind, I knew logically, this doesn't make sense. I knew that I have self-worth. I know that I'm loved, but I just felt like this, just a bit under, a little bit less, not enough. And I had to reach a point where I truly had to choose me, and really say a harsh no to certain things with my family, to say, no, I can't look after you. No, I can't deal with you. And it was basically for me at that time and the circumstances, it was a very hard choice. And it was either my sister, I'll say this part, she was highly suicidal and had jumped at the subway, survived, had her feet amputated. And I was the one, again, looking after her while I have severe lupus and I'm struggling with myself. So, and I did that for a year. Yeah, because no one else is stepping up to the plate. And I came to the point where I became so severely depressed, and you can imagine, like, now my body's, I was literally just on the floor day after day, rotting. I was rotting, like literally and figuratively. And it came to a point where I realized either two people potentially die or one. And it was the toughest decision of my life. And I realized that the only person I can truly impact, that I can truly affect change, is me. Because I was trying so hard to do everything for my poor sister so that her life changes and she feels differently. I realized, I've been a caregiver for her for 20 years. I can't change anything inside another person. But I could change that in me. If I'm working so hard to save her life, why on earth can I not do the same for me? I didn't feel like my life was as worthy. And it meant redirecting all my energy into me and saying, look, I can't look after my sister, somebody else do it. Otherwise, I don't know who's doing it. And other decisions like this. So that was the first forced way of having to choose me. And from there, I had all these other, ahas don't come, you don't have one turning point, right? You have several that build on each other. So from there, and that was the first painful pivoting point to choose me. And I was like, yeah, because I could see literally, I mean it sincerely, that I was going to die if I kept this up. And I was like, whoa, okay. And my sister looked equally dire.
Yeah.
Like, so I guess might as well, I can do something about me. Do I, and I really felt, finally, I had to come to that breaking point to understand that my life was of value and treat myself the way I was treating my sister and everyone else. So
That's so powerful.
yes, it is.
So what's your relationship to saying no now?
So it will always continue to be something that's difficult, I think, in certain situations. So definitely I've become so much more clear on what's okay and what's not okay. I understand more the subtleties of how some people overstep a boundary and sort of try to make you feel guilty sometimes, or manipulate a situation, or are asking for something that maybe is not, appropriate. It's a bit too much. But being able to discern that, I'm clear on these things, and it's easy for me to say no. But there are situations still where the guilt does show up, and or I freeze. I go into a freeze mode if there are certain traumatic situations, like with men in the past, and I just notice. So I'm like, oh, I can't speak right now. Something's going on. But I'm able to actually know that my body's just frozen. So that's been my latest aha. So now it's become much, much easier to listen to my emotions. That's really it. So when something shows up that doesn't feel right, or you feel upset or frustrated, if you listen to it, it's telling you, usually anger, a version of anger, because people who are like me don't feel angry. They never got it. I never felt angry. But you'll feel wronged, or you'll feel frustrated, or you're resentful. These are signs that a boundary's been crossed, and you need to look at it. And so that's what I do. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't feel right about it. My head's telling me, no, you should give the person the benefit of the doubt, and da 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 da. But the feeling is rooted in trauma in my case, right? It's rooted in trauma. Nothing's happening in that moment to threaten me, but it is informing me that something's going wrong, and whether I can or can't respond to it properly in the moment is irrespective of the fact that my body does have the right information. It's saying, I need you to think about this. It's giving you a negative, I hate using the word negative, but a negative emotion. So I'm better at listening. That's the roundabout way to say I'm better at listening to or noticing my emotions, and then not doing anything with them necessarily, not expressing or repressing, but be like, all right, so what's going on here? And seeing what information they have and going from there and being able to even go back and say, yeah, I said yes to this, but I didn't realize that blah, blah, blah. So I'm sorry, I can't do that anymore. So even when I still slip up, I can go back now and say, no, made a mistake. Sorry about that.
Wow, that sounds like a huge step to be able to.
Oh my God, is it ever? It feels so good. You feel lighter.
You would.
Because you carry a lot. It's a lot of energy is expended suppressing what you want, or suppressing that no, right? It's like, oh, but I could do that. You convince yourself that little bit, that takes energy. And that's why we feel tired, or it's strength that's not, going into us. It's seeping out, because that's the way I sort of see it. It's like a little leak, and too many leaks, and
you say that and I hear leeches.
It's very true. Energy vampires, we can call it that. Yeah. That's what many people or situations are, truly.
And let's follow up. Where are you with receiving now, since you've given so much?
I'm very good at receiving.
Say yes. More.
Yes, this was more recent, actually. So this is more recent, where I'd say maybe a year ago, a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, about my age, committed suicide. Oh. And I've known her for about 20 years. And I've known, we've always talked about depression and things like this, but it surprised me that she still, you think, maybe people think about it, but to go through with it tells you the level of pain that she was going through. And she has a daughter, it's 18, it's a shock. So that shocked me so much and upset me so much, because I kept saying in my head to her, why didn't you reach out for help? Why didn't you just say, I need to put my life on pause? Just put it on pause. We'll come in. We will. And, I think everybody who, I'm sure everybody around her would think the same way, I think. But this woman couldn't reach out. And then I was like, wait a minute. You're talking to your friend, who's moved on. Why can't you do the same? Why do you have to go to that point where you feel suicidal to ask for help? If you can't ask for help here, where you are here, Calliope, like, I decided to be honest. After that, I was like, you know what? I sent an email to my friends here in Toronto, and I said, guys, I look like I function very well, and I get by, but I struggle a lot, and it would really mean a lot if you guys could help me with food. Like if you cook homemade food and you have extra, this is not a thing you have to do, but and I was overwhelmed by how many people rushed to help me and set up a plan, and they scheduled themselves. It was just, and I started to cry, I was so touched. I was like, oh my God, it was a turning point again, because I was like, see, it's so hard to do that, but that's exactly what, if I want to give to someone, so I want to help someone, that person has to be willing to receive it. And if I imagine all the people I tried to help saying, no, 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 it, it would be hard on the giver too. Like the giver wants to give. People will give when they can. And seeing that reaction made it okay for me to keep not asking, but yeah, give me. But it was amazing. Just the thing I think that I realized though is who you receive from. So I was turning to my family a lot. They weren't the ones at that time for reciprocity.
Yeah.
So that's where I was going wrong. Now, friends that I reached out to, they're my tribe. They are the people that will give back without saying later on, oh, well, you remember that time and you asked for help and I gave you da-da-da? Well, they won't bring it back and throw it in your face. So it was who you receive from, or you do this energy exchange again. That's really what it is.
I find family is a very, I'll say, loaded word, in the sense that we think our biological family is a family, even when it doesn't meet our needs. And when we can kind of be more flexible around it, we might find we have a bigger, more adequate family somewhere just a few feet.
And I think again, a guilt appears there when you think of doing that. You think it doesn't mean that you don't care about your family if you do that. It doesn't mean if you create a different family, right, of your tribe, of your friends, it doesn't mean that they are no longer your family, that has to exclude them.
Yeah.
And you can be angry and grateful for them at the same time. You can be pissed off and still glad that they're in your life. That was the other realization. It's not an either or. So it's not like
you can hold both.
Yeah, they're still family. It's just I'm not coming to you for that thing. That's for sure.
I think family, like partners, cannot meet all your needs, but that's just my opinion on stuff.
It's very
with some experience, here and there. So tell me what you prefer in being an entrepreneur, because you've done this more than once. So why do you like it so much?
I love the flexibility it affords me. I want to be able to go outside when it's sunny and a beautiful day and not be in an office for 8 hours, which is ludicrous, really, when you think about it. I basically want to live. I want to earn a living so that I can actually do the living part. And I just look at it as, what are the gifts? What do I have of value that I can give the world? And in my case, it happens to be these things. It could be for somebody else, it could be something that you make, or like, it doesn't have to be a service-based thing. But how can I give what comes naturally to me, what lights me up, to others, and they can give me in exchange bread on my table, type of thing. But that the fact that I have this illness and it's so unpredictable, this allows me the flexibility to create my schedule and my life around my needs. And I definitely love that. And you're your own boss. Like, you don't have to put up with the employer or co-workers that you want to shoot yourself with and stuff like that. It's true. Been there.
I agree. It takes all sorts, but it's still, being an entrepreneur still has its challenges.
Yes.
And what do you do when the challenges show up? How do you counteract or balance it out?
Yeah. I remember the whole point of it. Like the larger picture is what's important. Got to step back. And so challenges usually bring up feelings of fear or panic, right? That sense. And when that shows up, I just remember that's part of it too. It's going to be there. It has to be there. It's just a part of your brain that says, I need to warn you, this is amber light. You might need to stop, or you might rush through the lights. You might be able to make it, but I need to warn you. And the good thing is, that cannot be, like, I just refuse to make decisions from a place of fear or panic. Because eventually it always backfires 100% of the time. And so I think to myself, all right, I acknowledge, I don't like that my bank account just showed me that number. But if I didn't know that, if I hadn't looked at the number, right? If I wasn't aware of what, like, let me look around, how am I living right now? Oh, right, exactly as I lived always.
5 minutes ago.
Nothing has been lacking, right, in my life. I haven't had to change anything. But my knowledge that it might change is what induced panic.
Yeah.
So let me just go back, and I think back to, okay, if I was fully succeeding, right? So if my business is going exactly how I want it to, what would be the next step that I would take? How would I act? And I choose to act that way, if that makes sense.
It does. I love it. Because those challenges come. Being your own boss has its benefits, but then you have to take all the decisions and deal with all the stuff that comes with it. But to have a space of taking a step back so you can.
I used to be a personal trainer for 10 years, right?
For me?
I also used to be a personal trainer for 10 years. And one of the things that I guess is translatable is, how do you act when, so you have a goal, you want to lose weight or run a marathon or get your sugar down, and that's the end goal. But there are challenges in between. Oh, I had a birthday party and I ate all of these things. And you feel like, oh, what's the point of going to the gym? That's what it's sort of like the next decision that you make after you feel you've blown it, or things aren't going the way you've backtracked. Let's say you've gone backwards in your exercise goal. You can either continue to go down the snowball, which is natural. Like, it's so hard to say, I'm going to have a salad with some chicken breast, skinless on, right? After you're like, oh, but that pasta with the creamy Alfredo sauce, it was heaven. What on earth would I want, right? And you're like, well, one more meal is not good. So in that moment, the decision you make can either set you back on track or continue a bit on that path. And I remember coaching people this way, and myself, that's how I lived my life at the time. Be like, no, I want to function. Listen, here's the irony. I care so much about my organs. Like, I was like, no, I want like whistle clean arteries, and I want to have like my heart and lungs to pump and be healthy. And now who has lupus? You know what I mean? That's what I mean by irony. But I cared about this since I'm like, no, I want to be made up of leafy greens and lean, mean chicken breast and, these colorful fruits and veggies, rather than the soft, mushy donut, which is delicious, but I'm going to look like a soft, mushy donut. So which one do I want? And I would take here's a here's where when a woman steps on a scale sometimes, and the scale says something lower, right? Let's say that you want to lose weight. They feel so motivated. Oh my God, yes, it's been working. I want to go for a run now just to keep it going. It says something more. It's like, oh, where's the chips? Where's the chips? And many times it's really, you can't see it. It's just the number in your head. So the number on the scale and the number in your bank account, for example, are the same thing. You don't want those to be the drivers. That's how I see it. I don't know.
I love it. I love it. It sure makes it easier if you're able to take a step back in most situations, rather than just reacting on the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Thank you for all of this, Calliope. So tell me, where can people find you on social media, internet?
Yes, you can find me lots of places. So my website, which you'll definitely need spelled out for you, CalliopeNikitas.com. I won't spell it here.
We'll show notes, something.
Yeah. I have a YouTube channel that I think people, probably better way to engage, because you see me yammering on about different topics. And I write some articles, on my blog, but also somewhere called medium.com. And I'm the Amused Muse, because my name, Calliope, is a muse.
Yes.
Don't worry if you don't know what I'm talking about. But where else? Facebook. I'm a Facebooker. I'm also a Pinterest person. I don't know. I know Pinterest probably is not a big thing anymore. But I'm always on there because I like to get ideas for painting, like art. And sometimes you find tips on how to do this and that. And I'm all about inspirational quotes. I'm always posting, inspiration. So I'm on Pinterest. I'm on Facebook. I have an Instagram account, but I only have 2 photos there. So you can find me there. I may liven up. I think I officially have a Twitter, but I'm not a tweeter, I'm a birder. I really am a birder. I love birds, but not the Twitter type. And I'm a hoot.
Yes, you are.
God bless you for saying that.
Thank you so much, Calliope.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.